go. Makiru Emba Manager. Makiru Emba Manager. Makiru Emba Manager. Makiru Emba Manager. Attack. Okay, so greetings everyone, and welcome back to our Heru Behudet lecture series. This evening I have a 360 photo to show you and a video to illustrate some important points concerning the philosophy of what we're talking about, Heru Behudet. But before we do that, tonight is more of an informal restart, and next week we'll go back into the hieroglyphic text itself. So today is just to regather and to start things moving again in a relaxed way. Okay. As you may know, we are just coming back from a trip to Egypt, which was a very good trip, and was able to take some pictures in the temple of Edfu, which is really the temple of Heru Behudet. But I generally want to go back to do a more full, you could call it recording of the temple, because on this trip, went there to lecture on the temple, and so I was not taking pictures myself. I was more focused on the 360 camera situation, and then certain things came up during the lectures, and we got sidetracked, but it was a good sidetrack, as you'll see this evening. So the trip was very good. It was long lasting, and the people who went on the trip reported nice experiences and grateful for the trip and all of that. Okay. And the trip wasn't a focus on Heru Behudet. Actually, the trip was more of a focus on the Amduat lectures, and that you'll see this coming Friday when we start getting back into it. For those who are, I think all of you take the Amduat class as well. And there's a special sequence I would like to show you in the Amduat. So we're able to go into wonderful temples and tombs, and able to do nice lectures and recordings of me lecturing in the temple and in the temples and the tombs and so forth. So for this evening, let's see, I want to show you a video. Let's see if the video is here. Oh, I thought I had it up. So where did it go? Okay, it's easy to find. Okay. So firstly, let's bring up the floor plan. So, you know, what we're generally looking at here is the floor plan of the temple. And here is there's a large court before you get into you get into the entrance of the temple itself. There's a large open court. And then at the entrance to the temple, there are two large black granite statues of Heru in hawk form. You have the pylons, facing pylons. And as you walk through the entrance, you're faced with the peristyle court. These round dots represent the columns that are on the periphery of the court, and the court is open. And you enter into the hypostyle hall, which is the second hypostyle hall of the court. So these are the general features. We'll talk more about the specifics later on. So that this is and these are nice, large columns that you see in the hypostyle hall. Hypo means many, many columns. In physiology, hypotension means like low blood pressure, something low. But in architecture, hypo means many, not hyper. Hypo means many. So it is a hall of many columns. You can see there are 9 on this side and 9 on this side for 18. And Heru's number is 10. So the reason why there's 9 is because Heru Behudet, it cannot be quantified. So you can't have a number for Heru Behudet because it cannot be quantified. Because spirit consciousness is outside the realm of conscription. There is no way to take spirit and quantify it into anything or to cause it to be congealed in any form or any concept. The divine is beyond concept. And any concept that we have concerning the divine is for the understanding of the mind, more of like an intellectual grasp of an abstract reality. The abstract reality can only be experienced as a direct mystical experience. And you're not experiencing that ultimate reality with your physical body, because your physical body can't go there. Your physical body can't even go into space without you putting it into a vessel, like a rocket or a space station or something like that. The only way you can get your physical body up there, even if you were to have the capacity to dematerialize your body, like in Star Trek, Beam Me Up, Scotty. Even if you are able to dematerialize your body and rematerialize your body, you can only do that on the physical plane of existence. So to enter into the higher mystical realms, you have to leave your physical body behind. And there's another aspect of you, which is your astral body, and then you have your causal body. And beyond your causal body is absolute consciousness. And you don't have a body. The predicament of human existence is being caught in the realm of physicality. You're trapped in the realm of physical beingness. And that is a predicament because that is an illusory construct of your mind, because you are not physical. You never were and never will be physical, no matter how hard you try. You're essentially spirit being. But due to fundamental ignorance, human beings develop the concept that they're a physical being, but you have to realize that that is an erroneous concept that does not comport with truth. That's merely an idea that is faulty at best. It has no reality to it. Then you travel into a second or so this hypostyle hall would be the second hypostyle hall. Although you're walking into the temple facing this one first, it's actually the second, because you're looking at the temple from the inside out, actually. So it's a projection outwards. The inner room, the Holy of Holies, is the genesis of the temple. Actually, they would build the Holy of Holies first and then build the temple out. So they would start with the holiest room and build out from there to demonstrate that creation is a projection. And so you would enter another hypostyle hall, it's the first hypostyle hall. And you have rooms here dedicated to specific divinities. And you keep going, then you enter these special rooms that we'll talk more about later at another time. You enter into the Holy of Holies. And if you come out of the Holy of Holies and go down this corridor and out this passageway, you make a left, you come around, you see the War of Heru set on this wall. So this is where we are, facing the wall. And this is a video from our trip. And here you have the lion goddess, Sekhmet, and you have the Purdah, who is worshiping her with sistra and incense. He's wearing a red crown, he's looking back at the other divinities. You'll see what that is. Might be hard for you to hear, so I'll illustrate as we go. So on this wall, you have, these are 3 hawk-faced divinities. And on the back, you have 3 jackal-headed divinities. And Heru is, and it's like a palanquin. Heru, with his red and white crown, is sitting on the throne of a Set. He has a hawk face in a human body, and he's sitting on a throne of a Set. He's sitting on the symbol for divinity. In front of him, on a standard, is he again in full hawk form. And under the palanquin, you have these 9 bowls, the pesdu, the 9 bowls. And you see this, might be too much to go into now, the mystery of the 9 bowls. You see the 9 bowls on the facing pylons at the Temple of Luxor. It was dedicated to Amun. You see them on certain artifacts where the Prada or the initiate is standing on the 9 bulbs. And so we can talk about that another time. And Heru is sitting on the symbol for Lord, and he's under a shrine. There's a shrine here that he's sitting under. He's being carried by these divinities.
And one thing about the question about the threat, the threat, it also means that that's the shroud that they make around the body. Only 5. And so we have here Heru Behudet, so Heru, the great one of heaven, and he is the rich. So you want to take a picture of this one because it looks like it's like that he breathes in the kind of what he breathes in the throne. And we have a hawk in front of him, so he's presenting himself as the male body with the hawk head, and also in full zoomorphic form with the hawk. And he has the 9 bowls, 9, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, about 9 bowls. And the bowls represent his 9 central powers of the 9 parts of the spirit that have become purified, that leads to his illumination as the one who actually breathes in the shrine, in the inner shrine. So I'll attempt to read this one again. This is the front of Heru. And you can see this is the throne. And his throne is sitting on the symbol of Net. And in this case, it means Lord. And embracing him here, like around his waist, embracing him is Lord Shepard. So the creator aspect of Ra is embracing the triumphant spiritual warrior.
You can see here, typically what you would see embracing the divinity, either Heru or Sar, you see a Set. But in this depiction, you have Lord Kepra embracing Heru around his waist. So you have the creator divinity embracing the victor, the one who vindicates the soul. He has to face the soul. He has to recognize soul, and he has to to conquer ego, essentially. And it says here that he's Behudet for eternity. That's what it says in this line.
And it says,
From right to left.
right, from right to left. And it looks like it says, Heru A Terpetzi Reshirt Atert, and Heru Atert, Shah, Mejat, Beret, He, Nesui, Tu, Medu, and Heru Behudet, Netera, Netfesh, Shu, Bird M, Aket, Big Bird, Aniu, Tau, M, Heru. So I'm gonna make one little adjustment. Instead of the first line doesn't really say Heru A, it says Heru, meaning Heru of the bowls. And why I'm making that adjustment? Because I see how they wrote A and then A, and you can see it's not different, so they meant something different. So that's what they mean, Heru of the bowls. Heru of the bowls, the innermost personality of heaven, breathes in this shrine. He is Heru Behudet for infinity as the Lord of the Lord of the Lord of all the lands. These words are of Heru Behudet, the great divinity, the Lord of heaven. The breath who is coming forth through the Aket. See, when it says shu, it means variegated, meaning various aspects of the lightness and the expression of the divine coming forth through the Aket, this home, rising as Heru of this land, meaning of Kemet. So it's talking about how Heru breathes in the shrine, so he lives in the shrine essentially. He is Bedet for infinity, he's the great ruler. He's a great divinity, and he comes to in a variegated form. So you can see here, there's
So what it means that Heru comes forth in a variegated form, it means that there are many aspects to Heru. So you have Heru Behudet, Heru Picard, Heru Sa, Asara Sed. So you have these various aspects of Heru. Nefertem is a form of Heru. Kamutef is a form of Heru. Sumin is a form of Heru. Khonsu is a form of Heru. These are all Heru forms. So they're saying that Heru is coming forth variegated through the horizon. Like when the sun rises, you have the electromagnetic spectrum of sunlight that is inundating the lands. Similarly, Heru is manifesting through these various ways. So through all of these divinities, Heru is manifesting. It's a very important point to understand that we're not talking about one Heru, we're talking about a specific aspect of Heru. If you get what I mean by that. Because Heru is not one divinity. Heru is a multiplicity of divinities. It's how Heru is manifesting at a specific, through a specific theology or through a specific metaphysical process. But the Heru that takes you to the glory of spirit is a Heru Behudet, is the essential spiritual victor over the inimical forces, which is the ego. So if you're thinking that Heru is one divinity, you're going to get tripped up in your understanding. Heru is a multiplicity of divinities, and whatever Heru that you're looking at is an aspect of the total Heru. And of course, all of these Herus are balled up into you. The one that resonates with you is the one that you gravitate towards, the one that you cause to operate internally. So if you like Picard, Picard will operate. If you like Nefertem, Nefertem will operate. If you want to overcome the lower nature, you have to cause an activation of Behudet.
Illusion to breath with the shoe symbol, and the symbol next to it means very deep. So different aspects, so different principles of the one divine spirit coming into manifestation are all Heru. Different aspects of the solar spirit, while he's being carried as the triumphant warrior. And over here you have the Qur'an, burning incense, taking the Sishra to Sekhmet while looking behind at these principles. So these are principles that are lodged in the unconscious that is allowing for this positive spiritual evolution.
Okay. We have one more that I want to show you. And showing you these videos is giving you a more expanded view of the principle of Heru, and a more expanded view of the literature that we are going through. So let's find the other one. Which is, I believe it's this one. Let's see. Okay.
Oh no. He doesn't want me to. So what you have here is the pig that is being slaughtered by the Qur'an over here, and Heru in the bowl. And this is Heru Behudet because it says it up there. So Behudet and Behudet, the Greek divinity. And he set the pig is set to the center right here. Set the pig, and he.
So you can't see it clearly. Number one is hacked out in this view. It's more of an angle. In the front of the boat, you have Heru traveling in his boat. And he has a spear that he is driving into a pig. And the pig is set. If you think of a pig, slothful, dirty, wallowing in mud all the time, stinky. And that's how the ego is. The ego is always wallowing in mud and stinkiness and things like that. And so, I don't mean a physical stinkiness. I mean the stinkiness of the personality, of the mind, the pollutants in the mind, and the slothfulness. And that is being speared by Heru Behudet. And he has chains. He works together with his blacksmiths. He has chains that he has tied up the set with, which is the ego. And he has a goddess in the boat with him that is You see her right hand is up like this. And what she's doing is she's projecting force into him. By projecting that force, she's giving him power. So the power is coming from the goddess to overcome the principle of ego. And the Purdah is the pharaoh, which is an emblem of every spiritual initiate. And you can see he is not in the boat, but he's on the same level of the boat. And he himself has a spear, and he is driving that spear into the set animal. So they're both operating on the set. So you have to take your own personality, you have to take yourself, and you have to combine that with your Heru Behudet nature, and you take those two, and you attack the ego that way. So you're not doing it with yourself, you're doing it with your Heru Behudet principle that is being activated within your personality.
This is what he does to the pig, the personality of the pig. He has here's his chain. So he has the chain and he has the others tied up. And then he has the lance, the arrow, that he's plunging into the pig, and the Purdah is assisting. And all of this is being done to the pig, which is set, and so that the set ego personality, what they're saying is that if you're egoistic, you're piggish. That's really what it comes down to. And that piggishness of our personality needs to be essentially destroyed. And then we move over. He's presiding over the battle. He's presiding over the battle, and he's ensuring that the rightful ruler of the battle. And he's there actually also to assist Heru if Heru were to fall in the face of Set. And then he would come in with the intellect to revive Heru, to give him the consciousness necessary to get back in the boat to once again wage the war against Set.
So in this scene as well, we have Heru, and you can see there's lots of damage. But you know what to look for, you can make it up. So you can see Heru here. You see behind her, you can see a Set. And they're looking on at Jehuti, who is sort of the arbiter and overlooking this process that is being taking place.
Heru. Oh. So that's the boat of Secker. The Safar Secker's boat. And it's being pulled on a sledge. You know, this is a different aspect. So it's the boat of Secker. We don't have time to go through all the clips to read what it's all about, but it's being sensed with incense, so you know something spiritual is going on there. But this panel is giving us insight into the war.
So this,
and here you have Heru.
Go back. So this is a boat of Secker. Again, Secker is another form of Heru. Secker is the Secker. When Asar is put back together, Secker is Asar is converted to Secker, and he It enters into the astral plane, the netherworld, and resides in their innermost shrine as Asar Seker. As Asar Seker, he has a hawk head, which is emblematic of Peru. It's an aspect of Peru. And Seker has his own boat with the head of a gazelle in the front, and the Heru at the top of the boat. These are all one of the important aspects of Natarian ancient Egyptian philosophy I was trying to bring out during our trip is the idea of the boat. All of the divinities have a boat, and a boat is emblematic of movement, of passage through time, and it gives an indication of a tajesser, something that is holy, holy land, holy place, where only a few can go into or get into. So what do you do to get into the boat? That you have to become that divinity to reside in that boat, or you have to gain supreme insight into that divinity. And so the boat of Seker is being the Prada here, and Heru Behudet is presiding over the Prada as he is lighting incense to the boat of Seker. And how do we know he's lighting incense? Because this is an incense holder that he's holding. And the incense holder has a cup at the end of it where the incense is lit. He would take little balls of incense and would toss it into the cup where the flame is, and it'll cause a flaring up, like a flaring up. And then the smoke will come out and so forth. He's doing that at the boat of Seker. And you see them, they do it in the presence of all the divinities. Incense are lit to them, etc. And here, in between the text, you have special standards. You have an Ankh, Was, holding the standard. At the bottom and at the top, you have certain divinities that sits on the standard. And this is a special offering. This is a special incense formula, or a special formula that you see in the temples.
Giving us insight into the war. And here you have Peru. On this panel, you have a set. You have Heru, and she is supporting Heru, Behudet. You can see his spear and his chain. And then he enters into the boat. And from there, he moves down, and there's Heru in a boat spearing the pig at another point in the battle.
So here you have Heru in the boat again, and he is spearing, once again, he's spearing the pig. He has a divinity in the boat with him. And that divinity is one of his blacksmiths that is holding a spear. And so he's not there by himself, he's there with this principle. And this principle that causes a tying up or a capturing, and that's assisting him in this struggle, this battle to overtake the ego. And because the ego is under the water. So the boat is on top of the water, and the ego is under the water. And what that means is that the ego is in the unconscious. And so things are coming up for you, and you're getting angry or whatever, upset, and you think that it's something conscious that is occurring. But what's really happening is that the ego is acting up unconsciously within the unconscious mind. And because of that, you can't control it. You can't stop it because that unconscious is within the causal plane, and the causal plane is a plane of mind of causation. So once the ego starts to throw up within the plane of causation, you're going to act out the desires of the ego. And that's problematic. So you have to go through the process of cleansing the mind, cleansing the ego. And that means purifying the mind, purifying the ego.
Waging war against them. And you have here the root, and you have him being supported by this personality who is Regis the second, that is supporting you in this level of the battle. Again, the pig is here, it's being speared. And in this room, you have Heru again performing the same principles with another accessory divinity.
So you can see the repetition of the scene. It's repeating itself. And you might ask, well, why are they repeating the same scene over and over? The literature or the text associated with each of the scenes is not the same, but the scene, or what I refer to as a pictograph, remains the same. But there's one slight difference.
It's helping, and it's saying that something, the enemy is falling. Put it up there. That the enemy is falling, and who that enemy is obviously set.
Okay.
Again,
Okay.
here.
Here you see, here's the pig that is being speared, and where my hand is in front of is a pig that's being speared. And so as you're going through the battle, as you're going through, the pig is getting larger and larger. And that means that the ego is coming into more focus. And as the ego is coming into more focus, you're able to, what's the word? Mitigate it, or mitigates its force, or mitigate its power, because it's coming into more focus, and you are ascertaining it properly, so you can go through the mitigation of its force.
Over. Again, have the pig. And we have one knocked out, we have one here, and we have, once again, a repetition of the scene.
Mr.
of
Say,
the,
can you come? Can you come?
can I listen?
Okay, I will stop there. And so when we come back next week, I think I have one more video that shows the end of the scene. But there's something very special I want to show you. So the whole idea of showing that was to give the essential idea of the movement of the boat, and how Heru is there with the goddess and his blacksmiths, and they're fighting the ego, and the ego is becoming more magnified. So it's a greater ascertainment of the ego principle that is happening. And it demonstrates how the ego is actually falling. The ego is actually being mitigated. Its power is being reduced. Okay, I want to do this first. Okay, so I'm going to show you a 360 photograph. And in this 360 photograph, what you're looking at is the Holy of Holies of the temple. And you see you have a gate here, and no one is allowed beyond this gate. You can see how large this room is. Here you have the boat. This is Heru's boat. And it says a replica of the actual boat that was stored here. So that's why people can't go and mess with it. And if we turn around, you're going to see here's a room. One of the rooms, accessory rooms that you can go into in front of the Holy of Holies. And I believe this one is to, yes, this one is to Amsumin, various aspects of Amsumin. So this is a room with serious tantric implications. And here now you're looking out the front of the temple. Where you come in, you pass through the halls that we spoke about. You see you have this large open area in front of the Holy of Holies. You can see the wall diagrams. This is the holiest place of the temple. It's the highest elevation in the temple. So this is the gate and the flooring. If we go back, you'll see how you have to walk up a ramp to get into the Holy of Holies. So this is the highest point in the temple. So if we turn around, it's higher than any of these other rooms. And as you're walking into the temple, you're constantly going up a grade. So you're walking up an incline till you reach here. And then you walk up, and then you're in the platform of the Holy of Holies, which is the highest point in the temple. Here's the roof. So I'm going to stop this one. Okay, let's see if I can find. Okay, let's show you this one. Now this one is inside the Holy of Holies, so moving beyond the gate now. So to do this, well, we had to spend extra money. It's a whole big thing. That's why in the video when they said, Mr. Sehu, can we speak to you? They were just working out the deal. So here you have, and this picture is, these photographs are not only rare, they're historic because no one ever goes in this place. But we were able to go in. First with the group, and the group spent a very short period of time. And then I objected, and they said we can go back for a longer period, but only 2 of us, so me and Asarma, went in. And here's the boat, and the boat sits on a pedestal. And the poles, that's what the priests and priestesses use to carry the boat through the processions and the rituals. Using fire extinguisher, lighting, that's not supposed to be in there. And then you see the markings on the wall, the hieroglyphic text. You go up the wall, you can see it's very high up. And if we turn it this way, see, beyond my right shoulder is the shrine where the image of the divinity is placed. I wanted to, and you can see on the opposite wall, you can see how high it is. It's a very large room, and it's covered in glyphs and pictographs. You can see the hawk face of Peru on the boat, and the boat actually is shaped like a shrine. It's held on a pedestal, and here's another pedestal. And this pedestal, you would place the image of the divinity, to clothe it and to clean it and to dress it, as the priests and priestesses would do every morning and every evening. So that's that one. And now to give you a greater perspective. Right, okay. So here, share screen. So here's Asarma. It's me, it's the boat, and this is the pedestal that would be taken out of this structure. And this is the shrine. And you can see within the shrine, there's another platform, so it's even higher. So the image of the divinity is the highest image in the temple. And if you go back here, there's a pedestal, so it'll be taken out, put here, dressed and cleaned and so forth, and then put back in here. Now, it has always been told to me, and I took it as a matter of course, that this shrine, you can see on this shrine, you have on the front, it's a little blurred, but you have the image of Heru Behudet twice, here and on the lintel. And it's always when tourists come here, they tell tourists that this is a replica of the original. But if you're like me and you get close to it, you try to figure out what the hell is going on here. And you find out after being close to it and examining it closely that it's been repaired. Here is repair, but everything else is original. This is the original shrine from ancient times. And how I knew that, how I figured that out, was the glyphs that are written. There are glyphs that are written on the left and right side panels. the stone that is used, we could walk around it, you can see the stone and what stones were used, etc., to construct it. And so it doesn't take long to figure out that this is the original. Yet when you go to Egypt and you start talking to the travel guides, oh, that's just a replica. It's not the real thing. And I think what happens is that it is such a holy artifact that has not been plundered and taken out during the 1800s, that they don't want people to know of the glory of what is there. And that's why they have, because actually to practice the ancient Egyptian religion in Egypt is illegal. The Egyptian government has outlawed it. And that's when Egypt was taken over by the Arabs from the Persians. But before them were the Roman emperors, the Romans. And it is the Romans who actually outlawed the practice of the ancient Egyptian religion and established Christianity as the state religion of the Roman Empire. And ever since then, you cannot practice ancient Egyptian religion in Egypt, because since the Roman Empire shut it down since then, and then the Muslims came in and instituted their ban, you cannot practice. So it's illegal. And so they don't want us to know, they don't want people to know that the glory of what is in this temple. The reason why, you can go to the temple of Aset, you can't find the shrine. You can go to the temple of Karnak and the shrine is not there. In fact, any temple that you go to, the shrine is not there. It's either been plundered, broken apart, taken out by either in someone's private collection or something. But in this temple, it's intact. And that's why they have the gate, that people can't come in, because they don't want people to know that the whole metaphysical system, at least architecturally, is intact in this temple. You can see on the inside of the inner shrine, let me see if I can pull up one more picture that might be a little. See this one. Okay, I'm far away, but it gives a good indication. You get to see it clearly. You can see it on the inside. You can see on the inside of the shrine, which is a box-like figure, there is a platform in there, and the divinity would sit there. You said before. Then you have the pedestal that the priests and priestesses would use to work on the image of the divinity. And then you have the bowl. So the whole metaphysics of the shrine is intact. And this is very, very unusual, if not the only one that's intact in all of Egypt today. And that's why you have a metal gate. You can't come in here, you can't study. And really what this is a statement of is that they don't want anyone practicing the religion. They don't want they're fearful of that. And so when I started, I said, this in no way can be a copy or a replica or anything like this. This is the real deal. Okay. So next week we'll get back into the text and I'll show more photographs, 360 photographs and so forth, which enhances our experience of going through the text. And these are very special teachings and some photographs, nice photographs that were taken as well. Okay, any questions? Thoughts, suggestions, comments?
Ujasehu,
Mhm.
I have a series of questions.
Okay,
The iconography on the wall describes the process that an initiate goes through in the unconscious mind, correct?
it depends upon what you're looking at, not all of them.
I'm
But
talking about, well, let's say this scene.
well, we have to look at the scene carefully. You can't say that without looking at it and going through the glyphs and so forth. But it's
Okay.
possible that that's one possibility, one of many possibilities.
Okay. So my question is this: if it's a process and metaphysically they were doing the ritual to activate that process, an initiate can go through that process without doing the ritual, correct?
Well, you have the ritual for a reason. Rituals are not done for no reason. So there was a Buddhist master that says that rituals look like child games, but their implications are vast. So you can't, you can try, you see the way how we're doing it now is not, has many faults because we don't have the complete temple system and cultural construct that we did in ancient times. So we can't say that how we're doing it now is the way that it should be done. We're doing it this way because it's what we have to do. We're doing the best we can with what we have, but it doesn't mean that it's the precise, specific, or even the best way of doing it. So
Neat.
you need to you need to you need to do rituals. You need to do three things. You need to do devotion practice. You need to do rituals. You need to do meditation. So, and you need to do wisdom teaching. So you need to put all of those together.
Neat. I'm aware of that, but my question is this: an initiate can go through a process and not be aware of what the significance of that process, correct?
Again, it's possible, but if you're going through a process, you're not aware of the significance of the process, then the process that you're going through has certain limitations. It has certain aspects of it that is not working well, I'll put it that way. But indeed, if you are certain rituals, the priests and priestesses would perform rituals for other initiates and for themselves and for the community. But the initiates generally are informed about the ritual, you know, what the ritual performance is, especially those who are performing the ritual. And if you know what the ritual is, what the ritual is supposed to do, it's more impactful. Although you can gain certain benefits from just being in the presence of a ritual. But if you know the inner workings of a ritual, it's more impactful than just being in the presence of a ritual.
So the question arises, if an initiate is doing the practice and doing the devotional, the meditation, and the wisdom teachings, there are processes that are going on in the unconscious mind that the initiate might not have done a specific ritual for.
Well, there are certain processes that are going on in a conscious mind that you may not be aware of. but something cannot go on in an unconscious mind without an impetus for it. So it's either a ritual, a meditation practice, something had to have happened antecedent to the unconscious for that process to take place within the unconscious. So it's not just going to happen out of thin air like that.
I'm understand. That's why I was saying if the meditation, the wisdom teaching, the devotional, and the practice, and the focus practice and the meditation. Do a attempt.
No, but you were saying that, if I'm understanding correctly, that there are certain processes that are taking place that you didn't do anything for.
No, that you might not have done a specific ritual for, not that you haven't done anything for, but that you had not done a specific conscious ritual for.
And that's my point. If something is happening, it has to be tied to something. So you can't like you can't do something and then something unrelated to that occurs. Is that whatever is occurring, something related to it has occurred. Like you have an effect and you have a cause, and the cause is directly related or tied to the effect. So you can't have a cause and an effect that's not tied to
But sometimes the causes are unconscious, aren't they?
a cause. Well, it depends if you're talking on the level of ritual. You're not having an unconscious ritual without a conscious or at least a subconscious impetus. Because the rituals are to be done physically. That's why you have the burning of the incense. That's one level of ritual. Then you have another level of ritual, which is a mental ritual. Then you have a deeper level of ritual, which is not really you can call it a ritual, but it's really an absorption. It's a higher ritual because it's actually unifying or uniting with the divinity. So if you have a cause, then there's going to be an effect, but that effect must be related to the cause. So you can't have an automatic causal effect without a precedent. There needs to be a precedent. And that's why this is called theurgy. This is a science we're talking about. This is not something that's happening out of wishful thinking or just being. This is a specific science that has specific applications that yields specific results within the unconscious mind that you may not be aware of, but there's a specific causal factor that is creating the unconscious effect. But this is not happening just because there's something that's happening that is causing it.
Do a attempt.
Uja,
Puja.
I had a comment and a question. The comment was that it was really nice to have gone through the teachings, having visited a temple. So that was very nefer. And the question is this both, does it have any parallels in terms of the significance of the Ark of the Covenant in Christianity? Is there any parallels there at all?
Nothing that I can see. Nothing that I can see from the perspective of philosophy or theology or even mystical or some mystic process. Because the Ark of the Covenant in Christianity holds the 10 Commandments, all this kind of thing. And it's held in a place and only certain priests can see it and all this kind of thing. So you can see that Christianity may have borrowed the idea of an ark of the covenant, that part of the idea of a holder of a container of something that is holy, and that's the shrine. And if you put if you put it on a boat, then you have like a boat shrine. And that's what this is here. But I would not tend to look at that as a direct correlation, because it's coming from a different perspective. Just loosely from the perspective of the Ten Commandments as tablets. But that's not an image of the divinity. That's words that is purported to be written by the hand of God, or whatever, however they want to put it. You have the image of the divinity in the shrine, in the bowl. There's a whole different psychology that goes into that process of understanding. And that is the house, the divinity. That's where that divinity resides. And the boat is traveling through creation, and it actually traveling through the waters that are forming into creation. So I would tend not to make that correlation, except I could see how Christianity can borrow the idea of, container, some kind of a container that something holy is placed in. But since they are amystical, they're not really a mystical path, then for them, having an image of a divinity is a graven image, and you're not supposed to have graven images and all of this superficial nonsense, really. And that's lower philosophy. That's a lower form of philosophy. Higher form of philosophy is the image, is the cosmic form of the divinity in space and time. So they're trying to deal with something that is transcendental and relate to it from a literal perspective. You can't relate to something that is transcendental literally and have a good, well-functioning religious process. It's not going to work. But if you have metaphors, and if you have symbols and images that relates to the transcendent and allows you to grow in subtlety until you can leave the image and absorb in the transcendent, that's a higher, to me, that's PhD level, while the other is like grammar school, like kindergarten. That's kindergarten religion, actually.
So do different temples have different symbols of the boat and the way it's presented here?
Each temple have a divinity, and each divinity has a boat, and the boat might be shaped differently. So there's the usual like U shape, and then if this was a boat for Amun, you would have Amun in the front, and the prow and the stern, that face of Amun. If it's a set, you'll have her face. If it's Ra, you'll have his face, and so forth. But there's a certain standard with the boat, on a shrine, on a sled, with poles to be held by priests and priestesses. And then you have the face of the divinity on the stern and the prow of the boat. This is a kind of a smaller boat. They have, from the depictions, they have had very large boats. You need like four priests and priestesses could carry this boat. There are boats where you need 8 or 10 priests and priestesses to carry, because they make them very big. And the boat is metaphysically is traveling through space, and the parishioners They are the witness to the movement of the divine in time when they're seeing the priests and priestesses carrying the boat along. But that the priests and priestesses carrying the boat, that's a theurgic practice. That's only for priests and priestesses. So anyone becomes a priest, and usually it's the priest carrying the boats because they are heavy. So any priest who is, and the class of the priests were very specialized. So you have certain priests who are only sem-priests, and they would be the ones carrying the boat. So you had priests that all they did was work on the boat and the metaphysics of the boat. Okay. Anything else? Did I answer your question?
Nee, het.
Anything else? Anybody else? So along the lines with your question, I'll be doing a very special presentation on the origins of the Catholic Eucharist. And there you'll see direct scriptural correlation that shows how the Catholics borrowed the idea of the Eucharist from the ancient Egyptians. But you'll also see how the Eucharist in Catholicism is sort of a corruption. And I'll go through the specifics with that. So when you're looking at things from the perspective of Orthodox religion, you have to look at it with a kind of an eye of scrutiny to see where the divergences from the original teaching is or are, the divergences are, and how that can lead to a certain kind of corruption that leads to dualistic religion. Because the Catholics don't believe that you can become one with God. They believe that you can come into the presence of the divinity of God, of Jesus. You can come into the presence of Jesus through the Eucharist and the sacraments. But you're still separate from God bodily. You're not in mystical religion. You are becoming one with the divinity. So if you are eating the body and the blood of Christ, you are eating the literal body and blood of Christ through substantiation of the bread and the wine, which means that the bread and wine is transformed into the literal body and blood of Jesus. And so you are eating that and drinking that. And that allows you to be in the presence of Jesus. But if you're looking at it from a literal perspective, that's like cannibalism, because you're eating the literal body and blood. But in mystical religion, you're not eating the literal body and blood of the divinity. What you're doing is that you're eating the power of the divinity. So you're consuming a certain power, and you're not doing that physically by eating, you're eating it with your mind. But anyway, we'll go through those in more specifics. And that'll help people who take the class to understand the divergence of Western Orthodox religion from the original teaching, which the original teaching is guiding you to become one with the divinity. And what that means is that you discover yourself as that divinity, as opposed to you're going to be with God and you're going to be in the presence of God for all eternity. But how does that really help you? Being in the presence of God, but not discovering that you are God, you are divinity itself. And so people in Orthodox religions, they can only go so far. Practicing a mystical faith, you can go all the way. And that's the point. And that's why you can't practice ancient Egyptian religion in Egypt because it's considered paganism. But that Orthodox religion is a corruption from the original teaching. And what we're about is the original teaching. So we can elevate ourselves. Okay. Heru ma keru. 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 Good time. Do everyone. Welcome back. And we'll see each other again next week. Good time.
Do it.
Do a